Hello and welcome to Library Connection. I'm your hostess, Mandi Cantrell. As you've driven through town, and you know we are the Marble City because of our beautiful white marble here in Sylacauga. As you've driven through town, I'm sure you've seen several marble sculptures in front of the museum and in front of City Hall, and of course the beautiful piece on the library's front lawn called Once Upon a Time. And if you've driven on down the street, on down Norton, you've seen our resident sculptor, Browne, working on a new piece. And Cregar is joining me here today. We want to hear a little bit more about what you're doing. Thank you for being here, Cregar.
Well, thank you for having me.
Great, great. So you're working on a new piece.
Yes, it's actually the Miracle Worker scene with Helen Keller and Anne Sullivan. And it's them at the pump.
At the pump.
When the magic happened.
When the magic happened. It's two of them together, so
Correct.
I know they're two. We'll look at the sketch in a little while. How did this all come about? How did you begin to do this sculpture?
This project actually started about 3 years ago. And it started the Lions Club from Tuscumbia, and Lions Club of Alabama came to the Marble Festival and approached me about possibly doing a piece.
Oh.
And there was some fundraising that needed to happen, and at the same time, just these things take time. This took a lot more time than usual, but they finally decided that this is what they want to do, and we're ready to move when I finish the library piece. So.
That's great, which is beautiful, and we're glad you finished it, and we're glad it's on our front lawn. But this piece is beautiful. It's Anne, Helen Keller's teacher, Anne, and her at the water pump, and they're right after she's learned to fingerspell water or learned what that is.
Yes, right at that moment of euphoric breakthrough when she is enlightened again. You know,
Right.
Helen was born with the capacity to speak and see as a child, and when she was 19 months old, she had a fever, and they called it brain fever back then, but they believe it was probably scarlet fever, and lost the ability to see and hear. And so she was in darkness for years until she was 7, 8 years old when Anne Sullivan came to work with her and gave her the gift of communication, and essentially gave her world back.
And that was not an overnight process.
No, Helen, her family really had a lot of issues dealing with her, and it was getting worse, and this was really almost a last-ditch effort. And the fact that, this child very easily could have been institutionalized for the rest of her life, and the world would have been deprived of this amazing human being. But, if it wasn't for the grace of Anne Sullivan, who should be the most celebrated educator on the planet. But
She should be. That was quite a challenge. I watched, before we talked, I guess the last few days, I watched a clip from the movie, and Helen was a handful, I think.
Yes, she was. Put yourself in her shoes. If you lived in a world of total darkness and no sound, and the only thing you knew is what actually touched you. And
I can't imagine. The clip I saw is when she's walking around the table just taking food from their plates, and the family thinks nothing of it because this is just that's how they've dealt with it. And Anne Sullivan says, I'm not used to people taking food off my plate, slaps her hand, and it's almost a knockdown, drag-out fight. But what courage that took on Anne's part to do that.
Well, definitely. And I guess boundaries is probably what she started with, and then ultimately, like I said, gave her life back.
Oh, that is amazing. And what she accomplished with that, she spoke, she wrote some books, I say several books she was on that, and spoke all over the world.
Yeah. And I guess what's ironic about it is she became the voice for people who didn't have a voice. And, she, by modern day standards, probably would be considered a socialist, but at the time, there were no labor laws, there were no child labor laws, women didn't have rights, obviously African Americans didn't have rights back in the early 20s, and Irish Americans. It's unbelievable what this woman that almost ended up in an institution the rest of her life did for humanity.
She did. And I see now that you don't, when you decide to do a sculpture, or when you've been asked to do one, you don't just start in on it. It takes a lot of research and a lot of time. What kind of things have you done to prepare for this piece?
Well, first of all, obviously researched Helen Keller and really got to know who she was. Everything from her poetry to what she's written and who she was as a person, and obviously her biography, from Radcliffe to being the first blind and deaf person to graduate college with a Bachelor of Arts from Radcliffe. She spent very little time actually in Alabama after she and Ann Sullivan, when she was 8, went to Perkins School of the Deaf and Blind, and she was there for a little while and spent most of her time in the Boston area.
Okay.
But yeah, recently had the opportunity to go to the Alabama School of Deaf and Blind and observe a girl that has the same condition as Helen had in terms of not being able to hear and not being able to see, and it, what a moving, life-changing thing to see someone that, like I said, just the fragility of a person that is so reliant on the world, on the people around them.
Yes, I bet.
And then to see that in real life, and then look at what Helen Keller was able to accomplish in her lifetime, it's just mind-boggling. That makes you want to go get to work. That's for sure.
I guess so. Well, that is a wonderful school, and they do such great work for those students there. I know that was an interesting, an eye-opening visit. Yeah, something you probably won't forget. That'll be something to write about, as you said later, when you have an opportunity.
One day.
Well, I understand why you chose At the Pump, and I love in fact, we'll pull up the sketch, I think, and look at that, because you don't just start chipping away at the marble. I know it begins with the sketch. There we go. Mm-hmm. On the left is the sketch, and I love you have, it kind of explained the sketch, what's going on there. Helen?
The sketch, Helen is arched back and facing the sun, and there's actually a Helen Keller quote that speaks of, sunflowers, and sunflowers are never in the shade, or you'll never be in the shade if you're like a sunflower and face the sun. And she's arched back with sort of a feeling of euphoria because, she finally has her world back again, and Ann Sullivan, I've designed it to where she's exhausted. She's worked tirelessly to get Helen to this point. So she's sort of slouched over and okay, we finally made it, sort of thing, and I'm exhausted, and now I can take a breath and relax a little bit. But the way the piece is, the way the piece is designed, they touch, and the only place they touch is their hands. Mm-hmm. Because that was such an important part of their communication, but at the same time, it creates an eternal ring and sort of symbolizes the bond that they had as teacher and student, and really friends for their entire lives. And if you'll look at the hands in front of the pump are almost like the point of a heart. And if you follow up the arms and the silhouettes of their heads and into the bend of Helen's elbow, it's sort of a heart that also shows the bond that the two of them had in terms of.
That's beautiful. But that is, like we said before, that is where her world opened.
Yeah, Helen, there's a quote where Helen refers to this as the most important day of her life because it reminds her of the two different worlds that she lived in. That's where everything changed for her, where she, like I said, really got her life.
Wow. When I watched the clip of the movie, and I know it's a movie, but and how true to life it is, I'm not sure, but I can imagine once she figured out that, okay, Anne could finger spell water in my hand, when she realized that, then she runs and she puts her hand on the ground, like, what is what is this? And then she runs. I mean, she's just running. I know she can't see. She's just running, and everything she touches, she's like, tell me what it is. Tell me what it is.
Exactly.
So I can't imagine.
Well, that was the moment that she finally made the connection between what Anne was doing in her hand and the world around her.
Right.
And just what a magical moment, and what an amazing feat for Anne Sullivan to truly get through to someone in pure darkness and pure.
Right. I believe I read that Anne had some vision problems also. So
she did. She had limited sight, and she went through a number of operations as a child. Actually, she was a ward of the state till she was 14.
Oh my God.
And then went to Perkins also, and that's was the connection with Helen Keller going to Perkins.
So she, not fully understanding Helen, but having more of an idea than
exactly.
Than
Her sight. I'm not sure what age it was that but it was through a number of operations that she finally got some vision. Wow. But it was limited, and actually, with her teaching and the amount of reading and everything she did, it was really difficult on her because of her sight issues. In terms of, it was a major strain on her vision and eyes. And
well, she had a passion for that and wanted to help Helen. I think it's what that sounds like to me. Even though it was very difficult for her, she persevered on. Well, if we'll pull up the sketch again, I know we were talking about the sketch and then looking at the other. I took some pictures of you. Is this pretty close to today, what you have?
It's further along, but pretty close.
But I can see there's Anne Sullivan on the left and then Helen on the right, and I see. So you've chipped away several pounds of marble.
Several thousands of pounds.
Several thousands of pounds, okay.
Probably about 14,000 pounds we've taken off.
There we go. And that was when they moved the marble piece to your area, right? Pretty soon.
It was 24,000 pounds when we moved it in.
Oh my goodness. I can't imagine it. To me, I don't see how you get Anne and Helen out of that, but you do.
Hopefully they're in there.
They are. Actually, I think I heard you say, I can see Anne, or I can see Helen.
I can see them both now.
That is, well, so you spend most of your time down there, or as much as time as you can, I know, weather permitting and all of that. And we were just talking today about it being cold. What kind of provisions do you do? Hot, cold?
Well, the weather doesn't affect the stone or the sculpture, but it does affect the sculptor.
I think so.
So we wear a lot of Carhartt this time of year.
I bet.
Summertime, we wear about as little as possible because of the heat.
Right. And you have a cover over it.
I do. A little bit of shade from the sun, but this time of year, I like the sun to keep me warm.
Oh, yeah. Well, we enjoy driving by and seeing the progress. It's really nice to have you here in town so we can see what's going on. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk some more about Helen Keller.
In central Alabama, 9,100 kids face going to bed hungry tonight. Hunger doesn't take a day off. There are kids right here, right now, that don't know where they'll get their next meal. Join Alabama Childhood Food Solutions and help put an end to childhood hunger in central Alabama. Make a difference. Donate today, by mail or online, to help ACFS feed hungry kids. There's no better time to share than now. Their next meal could come from you.
Any meal, anytime, it's a Huddle House on Highway 280. From the popular Huddle House signature waffle to our big house breakfast, including gravy and biscuit and loaded hash browns, it's a Huddle House. Try our Philly cheese steak omelet. It's a sure hit, too. Our big house sandwich combos include Huddle burger and country fried steak. And for lunch or dinner, it's the often requested chopped steak with mushroom gravy. Starting to get hungry? Head to the Huddle House. Our friendly and experienced team await you. Huddle House, Highway 280, any meal, anytime.
At Marble City Pharmacy, we're more than just a drugstore. Our gift shop boasts some of the most unique treasures you'll find anywhere. Come in and browse the vast selection of jewelry, purses, clothing accessories, and crafts. Let our friendly staff help you find that special card or gift for any occasion. Our dollar wall features selected sale items, and we stock a wide variety of specialty items. And if it is a drugstore you need, Marble City Pharmacy was named the 2015 McKesson National Pharmacy of the Year. Visit us today at Marble City Pharmacy.
Since 1935, the Collins family has been in the automobile business in Sylacauga. Bobby and Anderson Collins carry on that tradition today at Stop and Shop Auto Sales. Select from late model cars, trucks, and SUVs. And our vehicles do not go on the lot until they are thoroughly inspected by our experienced mechanics. At Stop and Shop Auto Sales, we offer a 30-day warranty on all our inventory. Family owned and operated for 4 generations. Stop and Shop Auto Sales, 230 West 1st Street in Sylacauga.
Hi, and welcome back to Library Connection. I'm Mandi Cantrell, and Craig Browne is joining me today. We're talking about his newest sculpture of Helen Keller and Ann Sullivan, her teacher. And we talked a little bit at the beginning. This began when the Lions Club approached you about doing this piece to go at Helen's home, at her birthplace in Tuscumbia.
The Lions Club has taken on sight as their main cause. And the Lions Club is the largest service club in the world, and they're in about 200 countries. Exciting that there used to be a Lions Club here that Avondale Mills essentially ran. With Avondale Mills leaving, the Lions Club left, but they are starting a new chapter. And so it's kind of nice to have them back, and especially it going hand in hand with the fact that I'm actually doing this piece. So.
Yes. And I did not mention, we looked at your sketch a few minutes ago. It was chosen to be on the pin. They have a pin every year, the Alabama Lions Club. That's exciting.
Every state has their own pin, and every country has their own pin. And it was a pleasant surprise to see it on the pin.
That's beautiful. Well, I know the Lions Club are called the Knights of the Blind in the Crusade Against Darkness. Helen Keller spoke to the Lions Club. I think the Lions Club was formed in 1917, and then in 1925, Helen Keller gave a speech to the convention, maybe the National Convention, I believe, asking them to take on that as their cause. And as when we talked about it before, you said, if we could show that clip would be great. How could they say no? Now, this is not actually Helen Keller. We're going to watch the clip. It's not Helen Keller. It's a reenactment of the speech she gave. And it's about 5 minutes long, but just watch it. It's very, very good, very life-changing.
Dear lions and ladies, I suppose you have heard the legend that represents opportunity as a capricious lady who knocks on every door but once. And if the door isn't opened quickly, she passes on never to return. And that is as it should be. Lovely, desirable ladies won't wait. You have to go out and grab them. I am your opportunity. I am knocking at your door. I want to be adopted. The legend doesn't say what you are to do. When several beautiful opportunities present themselves at the same door, I guess you have to choose the one you love best. I hope you will adopt me. I am the youngest here, and what I offer you is full of splendid opportunities for service. Try to imagine how you would feel if you were suddenly stricken blind today. Picture yourself stumbling and groping at noonday as in the night. Your work your independence gone. You have heard how from the fingers of another, a ray of light from another soul touched the darkness of my mind, and I found myself, found the world, found God. It is because my teacher learned about me and broke through the dark, silent imprisonment which held me, that I am able to work for myself and others. The opportunity I bring to you, lions, is this. Will you not help me hasten the day when there will be no preventable blindness, no little deaf blind child untaught, no blind man or woman unaided? I appeal to you, lions, you who have your sight, you who are strong and kind and brave. Will you not constitute yourselves as knights of the blind in the crusade against darkness? Thank you.
Oh, that's beautiful. As I watch that, I can see, I mean, I don't know anything about that, but I can just see her. She's not just signing, she is passionate about it, and just, I can see in her, and I know that's not really Helen Keller, it's a reenactment,
Exactly.
but the passion she had, and for a woman to address a men's group, that's quite exciting, and she made a great impact on them.
That she did, and how could they say no? I mean, after that speech, that
I don't think they could, and I like the way they've called themselves the Knights of the Blind in the Crusade Against Darkness. Mm-hmm. Now, what exactly does the Lions Club do to aid the blind and the visually impaired?
Well, for one, they have a huge eyeglass drive where people take their old glasses and they'll take those glasses, and they have a couple of optometrists and ophthalmologists that they take them to third world countries, also to neighborhoods that are less fortunate, and they match the children with, that vision problem with that prescription, so free eyeglasses. But they also go to schools and give eye exams to the students. They give scholarships or essentially pay for students or for children to have eye surgery, and one of the top places in the world is here in Birmingham, Callahan's Eye Center. Yeah. The Sight Foundation in Birmingham, and they actually pay for people from all over the country and all over the world to come in
and we have a branch here.
And hopefully, hopefully give them vision. But
that's great. I know so many times parents don't know their children can't see, and the children don't know the difference. So it's so important to have those eye exams young to catch those things.
And that's not the only thing the Lions Club does. They also, they give the clubs the freedom of what community they're in to really meet the needs of that community. And first and foremost, it's the sight.
Right.
But at the same time, they really strive and encourage you to serve the needs of that particular community also in conjunction with it.
Okay. Well, I wish I had thought to look up how people could get in touch with someone forming the Lions Club, or do you know who they could contact, or I'm sure if you ask
They
around.
can stop by the cage.
Okay, great.
I'm now a new member of the Lions Club.
Oh, you
How
are?
could I say no after this project? But
That's true. Well, that's great. So they can come by you, or you
Exactly.
could tell them who to get in touch with.
Exactly.
Great. They've had one meeting, or
2 meetings,
Two
and we it's going to be a new chapter that'll be starting or restarting, I guess, and
Right.
so it's really an exciting time for.
yes. Is it men or
No. It's all races, all gender,
Everybody,
everything. It's
okay.
all inclusive, and that's the other wonderful thing about it. It's not like some old men's club kind of thing. It's the focus is not on the people in the club, it's on the community.
What they
And
can
and it's just a great thing. If you can help, you come on and join us kind of
That's
thing.
great. That's wonderful.
so-
Okay. So they've met a couple of times and getting started. That's
Yeah,
great. So if you
getting
like to, yeah.
everything in as far as
Yeah.
the officers, that kind of stuff, and the parliamentary procedures, I guess,
yes,
and getting
those
all that organized.
things, and then they'll hit the ground running. I know
Exactly.
that'll be great. And now I know you're working on this piece for the Lions Club. Do you talk with them pretty often? I'm sure they come see you, or you just are in communication with them, like
Just-
teachers and all that.
just give them updates, and that's the other great thing. They're letting me do what I do, and
That's great.
that sort of.
Good. That's good because you just need time.
Right.
Time to work and good weather.
I wish I could just shake the stone and it be there, but
I know. I'm just amazed at how you capture, that moment of, wow, my world is open to me now. How do you capture that in an expression in stone? There it is. That's amazing. That's a talent.
well, this is a project that it was big when I got the commission, but the more that I've done the research, the bigger it's gotten in that sense. And the goal is for it to actually be a trickle fountain to where water comes over their hands. So when school children come to Ivy Green, they can put their hands up and close their eyes and sort of experience that moment with Anne and Helen.
Wow.
And, I just remember as a kid when I went on field trips that if someone was just talking to me, I really didn't remember it. But if I got to actually, if it was hands-on, it made a far greater impression. But
That is exactly right. They'll always remember I put my hands in the water where Helen did. Or something
Exactly.
like that. That is interesting. Well, now I know it'll be moved to Tuscumbia,
correct.
and then you complete it there?
This one, because I'll crate and everything, I'll get it 99.9% finished here, and then we'll fix what went wrong in the transport. Inevitably,
Don't even
something
say that.
happens, but
I've seen them transport from where you work in your cage, your fenced-in area,
the cage.
the cage, down to the library or at City Hall. But I think, oh my goodness, to Tuscumbia, that's quite a challenge there. But I'm sure it'll go great. Everything will be wonderful.
well,
That's
and that's something in the back of my mind, already working out how we're going to create it, how we're going to incorporate ways to strap it and pick it up and put it on the truck that it's going to be hauled, and that kind of fun stuff. But
it's pretty hard though. Marble is it relatively hard? As compared to other stones, or
yes and no. It's relative to granite, no, but relative to limestone, yes.
okay.
It's somewhere in the middle of those two.
Okay. Well, you just have a real talent, Gregor, and I've enjoyed being able to see the pieces you've completed and see you working on pieces. That's the fun part, getting to see it actually.
I'm blessed that I get to do what I love to do, and at the same time, hopefully it makes people happy. And
It does, and I know as children come to Ivy Green to see it, that they will be blessed. And I thank you so much for being here with me today. I've enjoyed hearing more, learning more about Helen Keller, and look forward to seeing your piece as it takes shape a little more.
me too.
Thank you.
Thank you.